Hey everyone, feels good to be back making videos again. Might have only been gone about a week, but it feels a lot longer than that. Mainly because I actually did schedule some videos before I left. But there's a lot to catch up on today. I came across a few reports, and one of them was showing how a travel agency is struggling to get Canadians to book trips to the United States. I don't think that's a surprise to any of us. The report also talks about how US representatives are now trying to tell us how we should be feeling about the whole situation. Basically, they're trying to tell us to put politics aside. The second report involves a Canadian woman who was denied entry to the US, even though her paperwork was in order. And it just proves how much is left up to the mood of the CBP agent at the border. He could be in a good mood, he could be in a bad mood. It's really up to him. I'll also talk a little bit about my move overseas and the direction of the channel at the end of this video. I know not everybody is interested in this part, so we'll save that for later. Today's backdrop was taken on one of my last days in Vancouver. I wanted to use it as a small reminder of myself where my actual home is. Now, before we get started, I want to thank everyone for the messages and well wishes about my move. And yes, that included the cats as well. I'll share more about them later in the video. And to everyone sending me emails, Blue Sky messages, Reddit messages, and even in the comments, I apologize for not being able to respond yet. I'm still playing a bit of catch up. All right, let's get back into it. We'll start with the first report from CTV.
9 months into the U.S. boycott, travel agencies working with schools admit business is slow.
To be honest, I work with all the new people, the new teachers that come in that are interested in organizing tours, and I think I've had like maybe 5. So I honestly haven't seen many, and usually it's like the first thing that they want to see.
Okay, right off the bat, I'll admit, I actually never really thought about how much organized school trips and how they've started to decline when it comes to traveling to the United States. I don't have kids myself, just cats. So this isn't something I've really experienced firsthand. But if I was a parent, I'd be really hesitant to send my kid across the border, especially if I wasn't going with them. There used to be school trips, sports trips, and all kinds of other organized groups that used to travel to the US, where their parents weren't accompanying their kids. And the idea of a child crossing the border without me there right now, that would make me pretty uneasy. At the same time, you have to wonder if these schools even want to take that risk anymore. Imagine bringing 30 students on a trip, and one of them gets stopped at the border. What do? You can't just leave the student behind and continue the trip like nothing happened. There are real concerns here, and from what I've seen, a lot of youth sports teams and school programs have already stopped going south exactly for this reason. So I have a question for those of you who have kids in school right now. If your child is in elementary or high school, would you let them go on a school trip to the United States right now? I'm really curious to hear what parents think about this one. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Would you feel comfortable with it, or would you rather have the school keep trips in Canada for the time being?
Heavy tariffs and provocative language against Canada by the U.S. president has led to 35% fewer trips south of the border. For school trips, the decline is much more radical, says this trip organizer, who says schools now prefer Canadian or overseas destinations.
Halifax has been quite popular for Quebecers. Toronto, Ottawa, of course, Quebec City. So the bigger cities within the eastern seaboard. A little bit of Paris, London, some big cities where they can go in Europe. South America, Central America, like Panama, Costa Rica, as well as being popular.
The Lester B. Pearson School Board and the EMSB are leaving the decision to individual schools and parents.
I think the school boards are making the right call, especially given the current political climate. It really just isn't worth it right now. But on a positive side, I'm glad to see other regions across Canada are starting to benefit from everything happening with our southern neighbors. Just like we've seen in tourism, Canada and even some of our international allies are gaining from this growing boycott of the United States. It's a shift that's been building for a while, and now we're starting to really see who benefits when Canadians choose to spend their money closer to home.
So a school will make a decision where the trip is going to go. They'll go through their governing board. Parents will then have the option whether to send their child or not. There's obviously fundraising involved, but we definitely see a decrease.
For states which traditionally rely on Canadian tourists and students on field trips, they find themselves stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Now this next segment shifts over to the tourism officials in the border states. Now I get that they're trying to save their city and also their state tourism industry. It just comes across as completely tone deaf to what's actually happening right now.
Tourism officials from border states admit they feel helpless when trying to convince Canadians it's okay to come and visit.
I can understand our Canadian friends' hesitation to come to New Jersey or the States at this point. However, I ask you to remember your happy memories that you have of New Jersey.
I've got happy memories all over the United States, some that I'd love to relive if things were different. But those memories just aren't enough for me, or for many of us to want to go back right now. When I first watched this clip, the moment she said, however, I could already tell she really didn't understand the bigger picture. She doesn't see how frustrated or how pissed off Canadians actually are with everything that's been happening. So, to this tourism official, I'll keep my good memories of the US, but that's not going to convince me to forget the 51st state rhetoric, the 77 million Trump supporters, the problem with CBP, and the ICE agents roaming around unchecked.
You know, the politics and the people are two different things. So we've had really nice conversations. Some people, they do decide to come and visit us, and we are more than happy to welcome them. And those that maybe are postponing their visit to our regions, we will be there when they're ready to come and visit us again.
But it's a return that for now could be years away.
For some Canadians, going back to the United States might be something that happens a few years from now. But for many, it's going to be a never going again situation. Now back to that tourism official for a second. I'm just not convinced that politics and people are two separate things. This is just my personal opinion, and you can agree or disagree with me. But when it comes to the United States, some of the people are responsible for the politics. I say some, because I know not every US citizen voted for this mess, but 77 million sure did. And because of those votes, we're all dealing with the fallout of what their politics created. As Canadians, it's hard for us to separate who we support and who we don't. Supporting ones who didn't vote for this can easily end up helping the ones who did. So no, it's hard for us just to put politics aside and come running back to support your tourism industry. And that's what frustrates me about these tourism officials. They keep ignoring the main issue, and they refuse to see things from our point of view. So I say keep doing what we're doing, boycott the United States, because clearly it's working. This report wouldn't exist if the boycott wasn't having an effect. Now let's move on to the next report. It's about a woman who went to visit her grandmother in the US and was denied entry by CBP, even though she had all the proper paperwork in order.
A controversial decision at U.S. Customs has left one 20-year-old stranded and her family fuming.
It felt like a bit of an abuse of power.
On Monday, her bag packed, 20-year-old Julia, whose family asked we not share her last name, arrived at Toronto's Pearson Airport U.S. Customs pre-clearance counter. Valid Canadian passport in hand, she waited an hour and a half in line before meeting a customs officer who began to ask her questions.
They thought it was suspicious, I guess, and decided to flag me and bring me to a different room.
Julia had a round-trip ticket booked with Porter Airlines to visit her grandparents in Orlando, Florida, just as she had done in February.
I was starting to hyperventilate a bit, and then they tell me that I'm denied entrance to America.
Now, I've said this plenty of times in my past videos. There are still thousands of Canadians traveling to the United States, and that's fine. Everyone's free to do whatever they want, and we can't stop them. But the reality is that border crossings are getting stricter. CBP officers are scrutinizing people more closely, sometimes based on their mood, sometimes based on the color of their skin, and sometimes just because your name happens to match someone on their watch list. So yeah, chances of running into a problem at the border are a lot higher now than they used to be. You could easily be that 1 in 10 who ends up dealing with an issue. Just wait until you hear the reason why this woman was denied entry.
They thought that I was illegally immigrating to the United States.
Julia, do you have any intentions of immigrating to the United States?
No, I did not.
U.S. immigration takes their orders from the top. And when there's a more anti-immigrant sentiment in the country, they have all the tools to use their discretion in a negative manner.
This Homeland Security checklist completed by a U.S. Customs officer claims that Julia didn't provide proof of a return ticket home.
I told them that I had a return ticket, and I told them the return date.
Customs also requested proof of employment and schooling in Canada, but the 20-year-old is currently unemployed and on a break from school until the spring.
The story is a true story and makes sense for that cohort, but U.S. immigration is suspicious, and they get full discretion to decide how they're going to respond.
We all know some of these officers love to power trip. Some of them seem angry before they even show up to work. Like this guy, who's now basically famous for what he did. Now, when it comes to showing proof of employment or schooling in Canada, most Canadians should have no problem with that. But if you don't, that used to be something that wouldn't have caused an issue in the past. I know this from experience. Back in my young and dumb days, I didn't have either. And I still got across the border with no problem. But things have changed, especially with immigration getting stricter. And even something as simple as being in between jobs or schools can now land you on the deny list.
Kate, why is it important for you to share your daughter's story with Canadians?
I hope that other people aren't going to face this. If our story helps any family avoid this, I mean, I think, a lot of people are boycotting travel to the US, and I'm all for it.
Immigration lawyers we spoke with say Canadians are now being asked more frequently to provide additional proof of their travel plans when arriving at U.S. Customs.
This is probably happening to hundreds, if not thousands, of Canadians and international travelers trying to enter the United States. I really wish more people would come forward and share their own experiences. Someone actually emailed me about what happened to them at the border. I won't reveal their identity, but their story is almost identical. They were held at the border for 6 hours and told they could either go back voluntarily or keep waiting for a supervisor and risk having it put on their permanent record. So yeah, this stuff is still happening, and it just proves that things have changed. I wouldn't want to be that 1 in 10 who ends up getting stopped like that. So if you've had an incident at the border, whether it was a land crossing or through an airport pre-clearance, and you want to share your story, reach out to me by email. I'd be more than happy to jump on a call with you to talk it through and help you get your message out. Now that I'm relocated, it also means that I'm ready to restart the interviews here on my channel. Now, if you're still here and you don't really care about what's going on with my channel, you can probably click off. But when it comes to my channel itself, nothing's really changed, except now that I'm halfway around the world. I'm still Canadian, I still hold a Canadian passport, and I'm still the same Canadian monotone introvert you've come to know. And yes, I still have 2 cats. They'll be arriving tomorrow from the time I'm recording this video. There's a 7-day quarantine period before they can be released, but they're doing fine, and I can't wait to have them home. As for where I plan to take this channel, everything I was doing back in Canada, I can still do right here from Malaysia. What I really want to do moving forward is to give the audience a broader perspective on how Canadians are seen around the world and what kind of reputation we've built globally. I also want to start connecting with more Canadians living abroad to hear your experiences and to get your take on what's happening back home with our neighbors to the south. So if you decided not to follow this channel moving forward, no hard feelings. I appreciate your support up until this point. But for those of you continuing to support this channel, I thank you. Your message, your emails telling me to keep going, your blue sky DMs saying you look forward to my next video, they all mean a lot. And to everyone who has helped by sending articles, reports, and information for me to cover, you're a big part of why this channel keeps going. I'm also hoping to find sometime soon to officially launch the Guard the Leaf subreddit, get the Discord server up and running, and build new ways to find the community to connect with each other and keep the momentum going. So let's keep our foot on the gas pedal when it comes to the US boycott. And lastly, I thought it would be fitting to end this video by showing you my last meal on Canadian soil. It came down to the choice between Church's Chicken and A&W, and I went with A&W, since Malaysia doesn't have the Buddy Burgers. They do have A&W, but it's completely different stuff. And next, my first meal outside of Canadian soil. I have to say, the A&W Buddy Burger was a lot better, to be honest. If you found this video helpful, hit the like and subscribe button to help get this message out to more people, and share it with your friends as well. And if you're still here and you want to see more of my videos, check out the other ones that are popping up on your screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.